Journalist presents TJ Talks with Zubeida Jaffer, journalist, author, and activist.
May 3rd is World Press Freedom Day. It gives us an opportunity to assess the progress of our profession annually. Before this day, the world's biggest media freedom NGO, Reporters Without Borders, RSF, publishes a freedom index that ranks 180 countries according to the level of freedom available to journalists. This year, South Africa lies at 31st place, scoring higher than both the United Kingdom, who lies at 40, and the United States of America, that has dropped to 48. On the continent, Namibia at 23 and Ghana at 27 score higher than South Africa. 3 African countries beat the USA by substantial margins in a year that its president has characterized African nations and others as shithole countries. Imagine President Trump. How did that happen? The index is not an indicator of the quality of journalism in each country. It is a snapshot of media freedom based on the evaluation of pluralism, independence of the media, quality of legislative framework, and the safety of journalists in each country. Self-censorship and the quality of infrastructure that supports the production of news and information are also considered. Broadly, the 2019 index shows that the number of countries where journalists can work in complete security continues to decline. The hostility of political leaders towards journalists in many countries has often led to acts of violence, fueling unprecedented levels of fear and danger for journalists. And still, nearly half of the world population lacks access to free information. Killing of journalists is no longer confined to war zones. In 2018, the United States had the 3rd highest number of journalists killed worldwide, largely as a result of the attack on the Capital Gazette newsroom in Annapolis in Maryland, leaving 5 journalists dead. The gunman was arrested as journalists crouched under their desks. The slaughter of Saudi Arabian journalist Jamal Khashoggi in his country's own embassy in Turkey has taken the killing of journalists to a new height. We understand that those responsible have been arrested, but the details of their fate remain obscure. The Turkish government's vociferous defense of Khashoggi is to be welcome, but it is rather ironic. As I speak, 68 journalists languish in Turkish jails, more than any other country in the world. Just imagine that. At a time like this, it may seem that these problems are insurmountable. History shows that small numbers of dedicated journalists and others prepared to lead can bring change in different situations. When President Trump made his outrageous statement about our countries, the CEO of Business Unity South Africa, Bonang Mohale, did not hesitate to protest. He penned an open letter to him, which you can read in his book, Lift As You Rise, and supported a boycott of President Trump's address to delegates at Davos. Like the USA, Mohale said, Africa is so much more than the sum of its shortcomings. It is a vibrant, beautiful continent populated by proud people who daily face their challenges head-on, with dignity and with courage, creativity, and ingenuity. May the 3rd, World Press Freedom Day, is an illustration of such courage and creativity. A small group of African journalists gifted this day to the world. Let me tell you the story. Nearly 30 years ago, in 1991, a group of African journalists met in Windhoek, Namibia, and crafted the Windhoek Declaration on press freedom. They finalized their definition of press freedom on May 3, 1991. 2 years later, in 1993, the United Nations agreed to adopt the Windhoek Declaration and to declare May the 3rd World Press Freedom Day. I continue the search for the names of the journalists who crafted this historic document. As soon as I have all the names, we will publish them on The Journalist, the multimedia website linking all journalism and communication studies programs in South Africa. We plan to relaunch the site as the African Journalist in 2020, creating a platform that will be our own. This will extend the existing platform throughout the continent and allow us to tell our stories on our own terms. A close study of the Windhoek Declaration shows that our continent has yet to make more progress to live up to the expectations the Windhoek Declaration outlines. It speaks of an independent press free from economic and political control, an end to monopolies of any kind, and the proliferation of voices reflecting the widest possible range of opinion within the community. No one can argue that there's been no progress on the continent and in South Africa, where more and more people are free to speak up and express their divergent opinions. However, much more has to be done, and journalists will have to give of their time to support efforts not to roll back the present victories. Decline comes easily if there's no vigilance, as we South Africans have painfully learned recently. A shortcoming of the index is that it does not consider the threat to freedom of expression darting through cyberspace. Hackers of all kinds daily make efforts to bring down news sites across the world. Some do it for pleasure, others do it for political reasons. This is uncharted territory and will require careful study. My personal website, zubeidajaffer.co.za, has been hacked twice and shut down in the past 3 years. The first time the site was shut down, it carried a video clip of a Turkish editor in jail, and the speculation is that this attracted the hacker. We don't really know, and the second time, we don't know at all why it was shut down. This past month, in April 2019, I've experienced over 1,000 attempted hacks. The top 3 countries these attacks came from were the Russian Federation, the Ukraine, and Turkey. Following on these 3 are China, Kazakhstan, and the USA. My website host, Asihara Online, has done a great job in fortifying my site. Cyber attacks like these are much more difficult to figure out. A full investigation would require massive resources. But as time goes by, experience will teach my small team to survive better in this hostile space. Unlike Namibia, that has risen 3 places on the index from 26 to 23, South Africa has dropped 3 places from 28 to 31. According to the index, an opposition leader's abusive language and hate speech against journalists contributed to the score. Once election day on 8th of May passes by and a president and new cabinet is installed for the next 5 years, there will be an opportunity to lower the temperatures and insist on a greater civility in public life. If this is done, World Press Freedom Day 2020 may just give us cause to celebrate. Imagine that.
For more info, visit thejournalist.org.za.